There's a gap between who God says you are and who you see in the mirror. And in part one of this series, we exposed it. For many, that gap isn't small. It's years of disappointment. It's years of self-doubt dressed as humility. It's years of one-day faith that never quite turns into obedience. But today we're going deeper because seeing yourself the way God does isn't about becoming louder. It's not about confidence, tricks, or spiritual bravado. It's about becoming aligned with truth, with calling, and aligned with the God who already went ahead of you and prepared the ground that you're afraid to walk on. This isn't just about big me, but it's about bigger God. Because when God gets bigger in our life, everything else finds its rightful size. Let's be honest. When most people hear the word identity, walls go up. I believe it's because identity teaching has been abused. Sometimes it's turned into arrogance. Sometimes it's turned into manifestation language. Sometimes it's turned into just sit there, do nothing, and declare it until it happens. Good luck. There's power in your words, but there's also power in your movement. So now when people hear know who you are, they think ego. Because ego is rooted in self-importance, but true identity is rooted in dependence. And when we truly see ourselves the way God sees us, we stop trying to be impressive. We stop auditioning. We stop hustling our worth. We stop talking so much and we start trusting. And that trust changes how we move through the world. There's a confidence that's loud and there's a confidence that's settled. Loud confidence needs attention. Settled confidence does not. Loud confidence reacts. Settled confidence responds. Loud confidence tries to win the room. Settled confidence walks in at peace. That kind of confidence doesn't come from self-belief. It comes from alignment. And alignment always produces a quiet authority. Let's talk about David. I've often heard the story of David filtered through the lens of a self-belief hero, the teenage boy who believed in himself enough to defeat a giant. But that's not the story I read. There's nowhere in the story that I find David saying, I've trained harder, I'm more confident, I'm special. But we do find him saying the battle belongs to the Lord. That's not self-esteem as much as it is perspective. David wasn't impressed with himself, he was convinced of God's faithfulness. And when we are convinced of that, fear loses its voice. Big faith doesn't come from believing in ourselves more. It comes from hearing and moving until we believe in God more clearly. And many of us think our biggest struggle is fear. But is it possible that the biggest struggle isn't fear as much as it is hesitation disguised as humility? Every time we say we're not ready, we need more time, we need more clarity, what we're actually saying is we don't trust God's assessment of ourselves yet. And I say that for awareness because we were never asked to feel ready. We were asked to follow. And what we do, and I'll say we because I've done this before as well, is we wait to feel confident before we move. But confidence doesn't precede obedience. Obedience produces confidence. Action produces confidence. You may not feel articulate. You may not feel brave. You may not feel qualified. And it is in that space that we realize that God doesn't negotiate with our insecurity. He invites surrender. And whenever identity is unsettled, we explain ourselves too much. We defend ourselves too quickly. We replay conversations too often. But when identity is settled, you don't rush, you don't strive, and you don't fear misunderstanding. And you get to the point where you don't make decisions and you don't take actions to prove yourself. Rather, you do it because it's who you are. And the thing about people is people often remember what we did. They like to remind us of the old man, the old woman. But if anyone is in Christ, they're new, not improved, not patched up, not rehabilitated, new. And in that moment, we are no longer seen as damaged goods. We're seen as redeemed purpose. And while we keep arguing with yesterday, eternity is waiting in the wings. And the problem is, until our lens aligns with His, we will always live a life underneath what was originally intended. And the thing I learned about God is He doesn't make Himself bigger to make me feel smaller. When God gets bigger, fear shrinks, comparison fades, and calling awakens. And it's not because you became more capable, but because you shifted your perspective and you stopped minimizing what was originally intended for your life. Now, if we're going to live this way, we need to practice alignment daily. Alignment like this, it isn't assumed, it's actually trained. We have to make it a practice to speak the truth, journal the truth, and interrupt insecurity immediately. And when thoughts rise up, ask yourself, is this my fear or is it aligned with God's perspective? Alignment is not denial, it's discipline. And I created this video because on Mission Growth, I talk a lot about identity. Because we will never build a life beyond the way that we see ourselves. Because ultimately, it is our identity that influences the action that we take day to day. And the ultimate identity is not, I believe in myself. It's important, but that's not the ultimate. The ultimate identity is, I trust God's view of me more than I trust my own. And this simple video is to encourage you. You're not late. You're not overlooked. You're not disqualified. You are seen. You are known. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are called to a purpose. So walk steady, King. Walk steady, Queen. Not louder, not smaller, but truer. And know this, when God becomes bigger in your life, your purpose will never be too big for you. If you enjoyed that video, hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about becoming. It's about mindset shifts that inspire us to go for the life that was created for us. And if you're already subscribed, I'm so grateful that you're a part of this community. Let's keep growing. And always remember that growth is a journey, it's not a destination. I'm in it with you, and I'll see you on the next one.